We are convened as of 8:33 a.m. I would respectfully ask everyone to remain muted unless you are recognized to speak. And I want to start by thanking everyone for meeting so early, meeting under challenging conditions. I want to thank the board office staff for scrambling to get this together and make it work. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Please note that the official meetings of the RTD Board of Directors are being held remotely in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare. The official meetings of the Board of Directors will be held via Zoom and will be audio and video recorded. The meeting recordings, along with the unofficial minutes of the meetings, will be posted as soon as practicable on the board's website. Visit rtd-denver.com. And a live stream of this meeting is also available via RTD's YouTube page. Colleagues, being elected as a member of this body imposes an ethical obligation for each of us to enhance and maintain the public confidence in this agency. As a board of directors, it is our collective duty to our constituents, stakeholders, and staff to conduct our business in an atmosphere of mutual respect, cooperation, civility, trust, and collegiality. These are values we can all agree upon. As such, I encourage each of us to review the operating guidelines adopted by this board and to act in accordance with those principles, which are available on the Board of Directors page on the RTD website. Thank you. I'll now call the roll. Director Bouquet?
Present.
Director Broom?
Present.
Director Busick's here. Director Catlin?
Here.
Director Cook?
Here.
Director Davidson?
Here.
Director Deschel?
Here.
Director Geisinger?
Here.
Director Lewis?
Present.
Okay. Director Revere Malpietti?
Here.
Director Rosenthal?
Sorry, present.
Thank you. Director Sloan? No. Okay. Director Sloan is excused absence. Director Tisdale?
Present.
Director Whitmore?
Present.
And Director Williams?
Good morning, I am here.
That's great. With 14 present and 1 absent, we have a quorum. Move on to the public comments section. This is our public participation period, which is open to anyone who would like to address the board. Those who would like to address the board but are unable to attend board meetings can submit their comments in writing at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com. Jillian or Taishrei, were there any emailed comments received for this morning's meeting?
No, there was not.
Great, thank you. We'll move on. If you wish to speak and have not already done so, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 on your phone. Staff will unmute you when it's your turn to speak. If you were dialed in, press *6 to toggle your mute settings. Please bear in mind that by participating in this process, you are being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, then your comments will have to be submitted in writing and you will not have the opportunity to speak this morning. If any speaker has documentation or reference materials for the board, please email those materials to the board office at the following email address: rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com. During this time, the board will not offer comments or responses. Directors or staff may contact speakers following their comments if they raise matters that lend themselves to follow-up. Speakers should begin their remarks by stating their names, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Speakers, please refrain from profane or obscene speech. Direct your comments to the board as a whole and refrain from personal attacks. And who would be our first speaker, if any?
Chair Busick, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, with no participants in the queue, we'll close the public participation period at this time. We have one.
Mr. Chairman, you are muted, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me go back. With no other participants in the queue, we'll close the public participation period at this time. We have one recommended action item on the agenda listed as item 4A. That action item is for the Board of Directors to authorize the General Manager and CEO, GM/CEO, to execute a successor 3-year collective bargaining agreement, CBA, between the RTD and the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1001 ATU 1001, effective January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024 for all represented RTD employees. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Director
Second.
Tisdale and Director Williams is a
Second,
second.
Rivera Malpieri.
Rivera Malpiedi is a second. And Director Tisdale is the movant. I would now like to ask General Manager Johnson and staff to present any pertinent information regarding this action item to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It is my pleasure to engage you this morning to present staff's report for your consideration regarding the authorization of the successor collective bargaining agreement with the Amalgamated Transit Union 1001. This meeting would not be taking place if ATU 1001 and RTD did not work in collaboration and in good faith for the betterment of the vast majority of the agency's workforce. ATU and RTD understands that one cannot spell union without UNI, because to be represented by a union, an individual must first be an employee of said organization. My sincere appreciation to Lance Lagenbahn, the president of ATU 1001, the officers of that organization, and the bargaining team, as well as a hearty appreciation to Michael Ford, our Chief Operations Officer, Doug McLeod, our Chief Financial Officer, and Kent Enright, our Acting Director of Human Resources, who served as RTD's bargaining team. It is important to note that our agency's labor environment is non-traditional in the public realm, and that RTD has one union representing 2/3 of the workforce, which is the ATU 1001. Oftentimes, when we engage in conversations relative to union representation here at RTD, the first thought most people have is always centered upon operators and mechanics. However, ATU 1001 represents 64 different classifications within the agency. Those classifications include, but are not limited to, telephone information specialists, clerical workers, treasury clerks, facility workers, instructors, and service monitors. Hence, making across-the-board decisions regarding wage, benefits, hours, and working conditions without factoring in the specific needs for these very different classifications will not yield a highly functioning workforce, as we will be unable to recruit, retain, and reclaim employees. Recognizing the residual impacts of this seemingly never-ending pandemic, working on the front lines often is not an attractive choice for many due to the human interaction. Hence, the vast people power problem as people collectively evaluate their life choices and work preferences, as evidenced by the 4.5 million workers who left their jobs the latter part of 2021, according to the U.S. Labor Department's job opening and labor report. Coupling this issue with the highly transmissible Omicron variant has led to significant workforce challenges across the board, as all employees are entitled to protected leave, such as Colorado's Healthy Families and Workplace Act. This has left the agency with the new P3, a people power problem. Trying my hardest to find a rainbow in the clouds, the federal rescue funding has provided an opportunity to shore up the below market wages and benefits, as well as other quality of life issues to make RTD more attractive and an employer of choice by providing competitive wages. The bargaining team and I intentionally focused on our 4 strategic priorities so RTD can continue to strive for success and the agency can position itself to be a trusted regional partner and an employer of choice within the Denver metro region. As a reminder, these 4 strategic priorities served as the functional pillars that we use. Community value, which is RTD strives to be a community partner, providing value to our customers, as well as the broader Denver metro region while sustaining planet Earth. Customer excellence. RTD strives to consistently deliver high quality customer service. Employee ownership. RTD seeks to attract and retain a highly skilled and engaged workforce. And moreover, strives to be an employer of choice in the region to employ talented courageous, agile, committed, and creative employees to guide the agency toward a successful future, and we must provide competitive wages. And rounding out, there's financial success. RTD takes very seriously the management of all financial resources. So the labor objectives spawn from those strategic priorities, and specifically those are: deliver services sustainably, ensure employee ownership, enhance quality of life, and embrace values and thrive. Taking into account our why, which is embedded in our mission, we make lives better through connections, and our vision to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to our customers and communities. None of this can be realized if we cannot sustain service delivery, as we are a labor-intensive organization. Focusing on the priority of employee ownership, it's imperative that we leverage what I coined as the 3 R's: recruit, retain, and reclaim employees. That can be done through the enhancement of quality of work life and by embracing our values, which is passion, respect, diversity, trustworthiness, and collaboration, as well as ownership. Before I conclude my remarks, I would be remiss not to recognize that today, March 18, 2022, is Transit Operators Appreciation Day. I extend my appreciation to the dedicated bus and light rail operators and commuter rail engineers, without whom the agency cannot deliver high-quality transit services throughout the Denver metro area, as well as to all the agency employees who make vast contributions each day with our daily mission top of mind of making lives better through connections. I will now yield the virtual mic to Kent Enright to orient you to the collective bargaining process and key elements contained in the CBA. Mr. Enright?
Thank you, CEO and GM Deborah Johnson. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this meeting this morning. I would also like to thank CEO and GM Deborah Johnson for her support as our executive sponsor through the bargaining process. The RTD bargaining team for their hard work, commitment, and collaboration in moving these negotiations forward, and especially Lance Longenbod and the ATU bargaining team for their collaboration and hard work to complete our negotiations. We would not be able to accomplish this work without all of the participants. Throughout the negotiations, all parties followed the golden rule of collective bargaining. That would be bargaining in good faith. Good faith bargaining is the party's legal duty to bargain with each other through proposals and counter proposals at reasonable meeting times and with a frequency to allow the parties to reach an agreement and ultimately to sign the collective bargaining agreement that has been reached. We began our bargaining journey with over 18 months of preparation to refine our interests and priorities, and began meeting with the ATU bargaining team on October 7, 2021. We held our last bargaining session in the last week of February 2022. In addition to bargaining in good faith, negotiations must address the required mandatory subjects of bargaining. Throughout the process, our bargaining remained focused on reaching agreement on these mandatory subjects of bargaining, including wages, benefits, hours of work, and working conditions. Wages include, of course, pay rates, bonuses, shift differentials, incentive pay, plans, overtime, and other matters related to compensation. Benefits include, among other things, vacations, insurance, and pensions. Hours of work include work schedules, breaks, vacations, and holidays. And finally, work rules include things like safety practices, disciplinary rules and procedures, and policies regarding employee monitoring, and other matters that relate to the work process. Throughout our preparation and bargaining, we worked with many stakeholders and resources, both inside and outside the organization, in developing and refining our proposals and counter proposals. Through our preparation for bargaining, we had extensive meetings with all our operational teams to gather a wish list of CBA changes, prioritize the issues, and select the issues that would be most impactful to RTD operations in addressing our people power problem and ability to recruit and retain and reclaim our most valuable resource, our people, as well as addressing employees' quality of life and enhancing operational efficiencies. After this extensive preparation and bargaining, priorities fell into the categories of economic enhancements, quality of life for our employees, and operational efficiency enhancements. In collaboration with our ATU partners, we made substantial economic improvements, including increased wage rates for all job classifications to enhance our recruitment, retention, and reclaiming opportunities. We worked on the defined benefit pension enhancement to honor our employees and the closure of the plan to new entrants to support our long-term financial success, and created a defined contribution plan for new hires to attract the next generation of our employees. In addition to those primary items, we also worked on multiple allowance and premium increases for things like tools, boots, uniforms, instruction, and certifications. I will now turn it over to CFO at AGM, Doug McLeod, to talk in more detail about our work in these areas.
Thank you, Kent, and good morning. Regarding the primary financial impacts from this contract, we have two categories of expenditures that will be in the new contract, primarily recurring expenditures.
We can't hear you very clearly, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. Apologies. Regarding the financial impacts from this contract, one of our primary areas of focus was to align recurring revenues with recurring expenses and one-time revenues with one-time expenditures, such as the pension corrections. So Kent mentioned the primary categories, those being wages, health and welfare, and our retirement benefits, as well as allowances. Regarding wages, in 2022, an across-the-board increase of 16% non-operators to wages will be implemented. Operators will receive a 16.6% increase so that the beginning wage or the entry wage is $24 per hour. In 2023 and 2024, a 4% increase will be applied across the board to all wages in each year. Health and welfare benefits will also be more fully funded with an increase in contribution from RTD. We believe this will provide additional stability and fiscal sustainability to our health and welfare plans, which will benefit our employees. The 2022 increase is anticipated to cost $23.8 million. This funding has been included in the board-approved budget that was approved in November of 2021. The 2023 and 2024 increases will impact the budget by $7.6 million and $7.9 million respectively. Those funding amounts have already been included in the midterm financial plan that was approved by the board in October of 2021. Regarding one-time costs, the pension that our represented employees currently participate in was last fully funded in 2001. It has been as low as 37% funded. In order to shore up this pension in the past, certain measures have been undertaken which reduced benefits for certain employees that were hired, for all employees that were hired after January 1st, 2011. We also had increased funding to that plan, which helped stop the bleeding. However, it did not fix the overriding problem of the underfunding. With this CBA, we had the unique opportunity to shore up that funding of that plan. This will require a $160 million one-time contribution, an increase to the contributions from RTD from 13% of wages to 15% of wages, while keeping employee contributions static at 5%. This will double the benefits, the pension benefits for those employees who had their pension benefits reduced that were hired January 1st, 2011 and thereafter by doubling their benefits. And will also provide more assurance to all employees participating in the retirement plan that funding will be available to ensure that their benefits are there when they retire. For RTD, this creates community value by limiting the financial risk to employees by closing this pension plan to new employees beginning in 2023. However, the CBA will enact a new defined contribution plan that we feel is very attractive through a 9% contribution from the employer and up to a 5% match that the employee would put in. That summarizes the economic impacts from this collective bargaining agreement. And with that, I will yield the floor back to Kent.
Thank you, Doug. In our priority area of quality of life improvements across the CBA, we have agreed to items such as increased time allotment for rest breaks between shifts, improved restroom facility access and standards, flexible floating holiday usage of birthday and anniversary days, an enhanced light duty program to allow employees to return to work while they heal, and a new framework for a collaborative apprenticeship program to develop potential employees and enhance current employees' development. Our final area of priority was around operational efficiencies. And in this area, we have agreed to a contract term that is in alignment with our fiscal year, improved flexibility in work assignments to help maintain service, language affirming the value of our RTD employees that is unique in the industry, improved grievance processes to create a greater space for resolution, and improved use of email to share information with employees. At this time, I'll turn the presentation back over to CEO and GM Deborah Johnson to conclude our remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Enright. And I want to thank the team, and I also want to acknowledge Michael Ford that didn't present, but had an integral part in working collaboratively to ensure that we leveraged our operational efficiencies as he worked with his respective teams to manage the operational efficiencies that we hope to attain through your consideration and authorization to execute the collective bargaining agreement. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank you all for convening this meeting this morning and adjusting your schedules to evaluate and take into consideration this critical action before you. So thank you very kindly. I yield the floor back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, and we're going to move into the discussion phase right now, but I'd like to start, and on behalf of the board of directors, I want to thank President Longaban and his team, GM CEO Deborah Johnson and her team for the hard and diligent work they did bringing this matter together. Deborah Johnson and I agreed early on that the board would be intimately involved in this process, which resulted in several executive sessions to discuss and give input on the agreement as negotiations proceeded. This was a deviation from past practice, where the board was only brought in at the end to vote on the CBA. This CBA is truly a product of the negotiation team and your board of directors. And Deborah Johnson, I thank you for making that happen for us. I'm going to ask that directors keep their comments short because of our tight time schedule today, and I will now move on to discussion. Director Williams.
Thank you, Chair Busick. I just want to thank Deborah Johnson, and I want to thank everybody who rides RTD and hope that they benefit from all of these changes that we have all worked so hard to make this system better. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Tisdale.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I too applaud everyone who participated and extend my appreciation for the great collaborative work that has resulted in a cooperative agreement that I think is one of which we can all be proud. I do have one question I do want to put on the record, and that is if you look at page 4A of the, or I guess it's, I'm sorry, packet page 7 for this item, referring to Article 3, Section 20 of the agreement relative to part-time operators. There is a statement in this summary that says limits part-time operators to weekend work only, and states that those hours worked do not accrue toward the weekly maximum. I would, just for the sake of the record, appreciate it if we could amplify on that and indicate that part-time operators are not limited to weekend work only. And that's my question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will have Mr. Enright answer that question for us.
Very good.
Thank you. Yes, that is not a limitation. It is actually an expansion of the opportunity for part-time employees to do weekend work only. So as you have a summary in front of you, it doesn't have the full language, but it is an expansion, not a limitation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question, Director Tisdale and Mr. Enright. Thanks for the clarification. Second Vice Chair Catlin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also wanted to congratulate the team for its hard work in negotiating, and I also want to applaud GM CEO Johnson and the team for using as a cornerstone for these negotiations our principles and our strategic goals that were set forth by this board nearly a year ago. And it's so important to me that those anchor all of our decision making, and this has proven true in this particular negotiation. So once again, congratulations.
Thank you, Second Vice Chair. I don't see any more virtual hands raised. I'll go to the directors that are assembled in person. Any directors there, please state your name and go ahead with your comment.
Don't believe anybody has any comments.
Great, sounds great. So we've got a motion, we've got a second. I'm going to do a roll call vote just so we can all be on record for this one. Director Bouquet, what's your vote?
Yes.
Director Broom,
yes,
Director Busick, yes. Director Catlin,
Yes.
Director Cook,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Deschel,
Yes.
Director Geisinger,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
Director Rivera-Malpietti,
Yes.
Director Rosenthal,
Yes.
Director Tisdale,
Yes.
Director Whitmore,
Yes.
and Director Williams.
Yes.
So unanimous vote of all directors present. Congratulations. Hopefully this goes a long way to helping us with our 3 R's as Johnson brought forward. So with that concludes this action item. Are there any other matters to come before this board? Anybody at the board members that are assembled in person? Anything? I can't see your hands, so
We're good.
we're good. Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Director Williams.
Dr. Williams,
Second, Rivera-Malpietti.
Angie second. Any opposition to the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 9:01 a.m. Thanks everybody for your work on this. Thanks again to our staff for their hard work. Have a good day.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.